name's Dave Thune. I'm the City Council member for downtown from Ward 2 in the City of St. Paul. And I wanted to introduce Mike Hom, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation. He always has a siren that goes off when we introduce him. So come on up here, Mike.
Thunderous applause, overwhelmed by sirens. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Thune. Thank everybody for being here. I think what a great day. I want to thank the council member, the mayor, Mayor Coleman, Capital River District Council Chair Andrew Schlack, who's here with us, Rachel Contracting with the big piece of heavy equipment here to my left, Keys Cafe. This will be Bob Spalding, who's here with us today. Keys Cafe, this is the first of 3 times that we're going to mention that we're going to have snacks following this event across the street at Keys Cafe for helping us for the first step of what's going to put a wonderful green space on this block on the site of what we're standing here today. And green space in downtown St. Paul, that's an applause line if you don't recognize that. So before we talk a little bit about what's to come, I want to take a moment and thank the Pedro family. Carl Pedro is here with us today. Carl, thank you, representing your family. Those of you that don't know the story, it's the generosity of the Pedro family who donated this building under the condition that we use it for a future park. And today is the first step in that process. And it's something that we've been working on as a community, as a Parks Department, as a city for a long time. And today, as a first step, is an important first step for realizing this vision for what the future holds. I want to welcome back Councilmember Thune to the podium, who's going to take us through today's events. In doing that, I want to thank Councilmember Thune in particular and his colleagues on our City Council for their support of Parks and Recreation in St. Paul, our great Parks and Recreation system and green space in general. And the council member is a supporter of what I know to be true, that parks are great economic assets, and that we don't create parks in general to have just green space. We do that to build community vitality and as part of community building. So thank you, and thank you for your participation today.
Did we forget to mention that after the event we have goodies over at Keys Cafe? Pat's only told me to say that 3 times now this morning because she thinks I'm going to forget. I'll probably do it once more. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is, never let it be said that in St. Paul we do things quickly and without great thought ahead of time. It's this park, and I'm going to talk about it as a park because as of now it's a park. It's been a long time coming. The concept that the Capital River Council had, how many years ago? 8 years ago. 8 years ago, the Capital River Council, our district council, worked on the Fitzgerald Park Master Plan, and it talks about the housing and the retail, but all of it centered around a public park. At the time, we had really no idea where that public park would come from, but thanks to the Pedro family, they stepped forward, and like Mike said, it's always sad when a family business leaves the city, but the family will remain here in our hearts and our spirit because they've left something that will last forever in the city of St. Paul. I could go through the long list of who needs to be thanked, but I think you all know who you are. The people that sat on the committee 8 years ago and for the last 8 years, our staff people with the city, with planning, with the parks, the people that sort of brought the physical notion of what the ideas would be. But really this is all about a vision from the community by the community. We don't do things in St. Paul fast. We also don't do them without the input of the community. And let me tell you, downtown has become a community, not just of office buildings, but a community of residents. Downtown is, in fact, a neighborhood. And the neighbors got together. They said, we need a park in this part of downtown. They worked towards that end, and they succeeded. And so all of you should give yourselves a hand right now, actually. I love being able to come up and make speeches and talk about how great it is and take lots of accolades and stuff, but really it was the neighbors who created this park, the neighbors and the Pedro family. So without going on any further, I'm going to introduce Andrew Schlack from the Capital River Council, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the role of the district council in this, and then after we're done, we're going to go across the street to Keys and eat some cake, I think.
Thank you, Councilmember Thune. Did I hear something about across the street at Keys? Cake? It sounds great. Well, it's such an exciting day in downtown St. Paul and the city at large. We're grateful really for this legacy gift from the Pedro family to a remarkable neighborhood in a remarkable city. As Councilmember Thune mentioned, ever since the neighborhood identified the need for a park in this area, there have been so many neighborhood champions that have led this cause and are gracious to accept this great gift. Just draw a special attention to Rod Helverson, Bud Kleppe, Bob Spalding, Carl Carlson, Lucy Thompson from the city, and Tim Griffin from the Design Center. Thank you so much for leading this. Needless to say, there are many, many other people who have committed time and who look forward to committing more time. Folks in our community know that we've been given a terrific opportunity today and that the work has just begun. As a kid growing up in another city, I have the fondest memories of my neighborhood park. It was the space where kids could laugh and play and run around and have a safe environment, a place where parents could watch their kids and take solace and relax in a neighborhood, in a friendly park environment. And my hope is today that this park gives the same kind of gift and the precious memories that I have as a kid enjoying public parks. Our nationally recognized parks here in St. Paul help retain and enhance our community's competitiveness. As more and more individuals and families move downtown, especially empty nesters and young families, we embrace the high quality green space and successful businesses where parents and their children and increasingly grandparents and their grandchildren can come gather with friendship and fellowship. We realize that in order to help this park realize its full potential and the generosity of the Pedro family, the downtown community really looks forward to an engaged, community-based process to help envision and realize the future programming and use of this space. It's important to implement this space to help make St. Paul an even better place to live, work, and play. After a century of commerce here on this site and generations of families knowing the high quality and value of the Pedro family name, all of us look forward to a new century and future generations celebrating, appreciating, and honoring the high quality and value of Pedro Park. Thank you again for this tremendous gift. As we work together, this site will be enjoyed by many generations to come. Thank you.
I'm also going to introduce, again, this has gone on so long that we have generations of people who served on the district council. But Bob Spalding in particular has been a stalwart advocate for this park and this neighborhood. I want him to come up here, say a few words.
Absolutely. My name is Bob Spalding, and from 2002 to 2006, I served as co-chair of the Fitzgerald Park Precinct Plan Task Force. It solidified the plan for a park on this block. And that planning process was long, and it taught me at least two notable things. First, this surrounding community is incredibly wealthy and in diversity. Let me clarify. The neighborhood's residents include people from the full spectrum of society, 2 public housing buildings, subsidized senior buildings, lawn departments, a shelter, along with a host of mid-range condos around you. In 2000, over half of us didn't own a car, and that makes the local amenities like this park all the more important. We have an unusual concentration also on diversity of arts, and particularly performance-related arts organizations and institutions in the neighborhood, from McNally Smith College of Music to the St. Paul Conservatory of Music to the History Theater, Fitzgerald Theater, the Current, and Minnesota Public Radio. The second thing I learned is even with this incredibly rich diversity of people and institutions, the neighborhood's existing design doesn't facilitate us getting out of each of our individual silos and coming together as a neighborhood. Several of our best institutions are housed, unfortunately, in large windowless buildings, and there have been few small businesses, although a few more across the street, thankfully, in which to bump into one another. And there's no shared city park space within this sub-neighborhood of downtown. In Lower Town, the shared space in Lower Town, which includes the places like the Black Dog, Golden's Deli, the Farmers Market, and perhaps most centrally Mears Park, is where the magic of community, creativity, and relationships are built over gardening, over purchasing food, over entertainment and coffee. It's that shared creative space in Lower Town that gives Lower Town its competitive advantage, and in the long term, it's going to be that shared space that builds community right here. These two realizations, the neighborhood's rich diversity on the one hand and the need for more shared public park space, is what animated our proposal as a task force for a new park on this block. Our task force's open houses had 70, 80, sometimes 100 people. We saw an unusual enthusiasm downtown from all parts of the community. Planners, in a rare move, got an unprecedented standing ovation at the end of one of the meetings. And yet we were keenly aware that establishing a park on this site would be a tough climb. Friends with far more years of planning experience came to me and said, you know, I'm not sure it's possible to see this park block become a park. We might think about doing something else in our planning. As a task force, we talked about that a lot. And after carefully sifting through all these issues and options, we came back and we responded together, you know, we're not sure it's possible to see this block become a park, but a park here could do tremendous things, could unleash this community's shared potential in a way that little else could. We owe it to ourselves and to our community to give it all we've got. The single biggest challenge we faced in realizing our vision, in fact, turned out to be the building behind us, the Pedro building. And so last year we were stunned, flabbergasted, amazed, and remain so when the owners of the Pedro building offered to donate it to the city for a park. I've never been party to such generosity before, and I probably won't ever be again. All I can say is that we're truly dedicated to using this incredible gift as wisely as we know how, and in a way that duly honors the family and the business that for so many years has occupied this space. So on behalf of all who have worked here so long and hard to make this park a reality, and so many of you are in the crowd, and I could just scan across and name names, and you know, Tim Griffin, Lucy Thompson, Jody Martinez, Bob Clow, Bud Kleppe I saw before, Betty Herbert, Rod Halverson, others were mentioned. Thank you so much for all you've done. On behalf of all of us to the Pedro family, and I've lost track of where they went, thank you so completely much. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Thank you. Truly, we cannot begin to do enough to thank you. Know how much your generosity means to us and countless future generations who will enjoy this permanent park. Finally, in closing, for several years, it's not a secret, we had thought about naming this park Fitzgerald Park after St. Paul's own F. Scott Fitzgerald. And so just in closing, I found a passage from our St. Paul native son that captures from The Great Gatsby well, I think, what this park might do for the neighborhood. I wanted to get out and walk southward toward the park through the soft twilight, but each time I tried to go, I became entangled in some wild, strident argument, which pulled me back as if with ropes into my chair. Yet high over the city, our line of yellow windows must have contributed to their share of human secrecy to the casual watcher in the darkening streets. And I was him too, looking up and wondering. I was within and without, simultaneously enchanted and repelled by the inexhaustible variety of life.
Well, now that we come to the part of the park that the media is really here for. It's not to watch us make speeches, it's to watch stuff go crashing down. And we're going to adjourn behind the gates. I too actually have a quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wasn't really the cheeriest person in the world. And I like to think that we've advanced beyond those dark days. But as we start demolishing a building, I'm a historic preservationist. I hate tearing buildings down. But sometimes the end is more important than what we have now. And F. Scott Fitzgerald did once say, vitality shows in not only the ability to persist, but the ability to start over. And we are now seconds away from starting over and making this neighborhood a true neighborhood, complete with its own park. So thank you, everyone.